Tell them.
Yep. Let's see, material. So everyone will need a dish or hand towel, a duct tape, masking tape, packing tape or similar sticky tape, a bowl filled with water, spoon or chopsticks or other implements to stir the paper and the water in the bowl. Scissors are optional, pen or marker optional if you want to add words.
Perfect. Great. And we can go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Thanks for doing that. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming to this Inform Your Community Craftivism event. My name is Stacy. My pronouns are she and her. My shirt is black and my background is blurred. Closed captioning is enabled and can be turned on by participants. At Inform Your Community, we offer events that combine important, impactful information with having fun. Visit us at www.informyourcommunity.org. You can find social media links on the bottom of our website. Tell your friends to sign up for our mailing list on the top right of our website at www.informyourcommunity.org. And of course, you can donate using our donate link at the top right of the page. If you're watching the recording of this video, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and comment on YouTube. We love to hear what you think of our crafts, events, and to see your finished products on social media. This event is part of our Craftivism program, where adults learn art techniques while discussing relevant social issues. As a reminder, Craftivism is an adult crafting program and not intended for children. Today's topic is growth mindset. Today we are going to be talking about growth mindset, which is the belief that people develop skills and expertise through hard work and practice, understanding setbacks as opportunities, learning new skills despite challenges and changes, reframing failures as opportunities, recognizing that effort matters, taking and adapting to feedback, and it's one of Inform Your Community's 4 Cs. There are a lot of folks who can help people with their growth mindset related goals. Experts, practitioners, teachers, coaches, mentors, such as, but not limited to, those who work in the areas of spirituality and mindfulness, positive psychology and mindset, productivity and organization, cognitive behavior, transformation and success, and doulas, birth doula/death doula, among others. One reason it's important to educate people on this topic is because, as one study showed, 10th graders with a growth mindset performed 20% better on nationwide achievement tests. Additionally, 88% of executives in another study said growth mindset equals organizational success, which is especially meaningful when you consider that employees who value a growth mindset, with 52% of employees saying they who would take another job for more learning opportunities. Throughout the craft, if you have any questions or comments on the craft or on the topic, please feel free to unmute yourself or talk or write in the chat. We are excited to have Carrie Newman of Carrie Newman Coaching, whose pronouns are she and her, with us here to help co-facilitate. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Carrie is a certified parent coach, a certified life coach, and worked as a classroom teacher for 26 years. She was an organizational and family consultant for 17 years before moving to coaching full-time. Awesome. Throughout the craft, if you have any questions or comments on the craft or on the topic, please feel free to unmute, talk, or write in the chat, and we'd love to see your work in progress, so please feel free to show your project to the camera when it's completed. Today, we are also joined by Shua Clay from Hands of Accommodation, who will be providing live ASL interpretation during the event. Now, let me introduce you to our crafters, Stacy K. Can you tell us what this art technique is and why you chose it?
Yes, I most certainly can. I'm so happy to be here. So my name is Stacy. We have two Stacys on the call. I'm Stacy K. My pronouns are she and her, and today I'm wearing a kind of flowered blue and white dress. I'm white with salt and pepper, and kind of actually today it's kind of gingery hair. And my background is kind of a white wall. And I love to tell you about our art technique. What we're doing today is going to be paper making. So I can show you some examples of this. We're going to be doing some paper making. The reason I picked this particular craft is because it was actually the first craft I ever attempted. And while it isn't too hard, it also isn't too easy. I taught myself how to do this when I was 18 and I was away at college. And so to me, this is a great example of, growing and trying to do something that's outside of, let's say, your comfort zone or skill set. And so this was, keep in mind, before the modern internet was in existence, as we know it. So it's much harder to find out information about how to do this than it is today. But we're so glad that everybody's here to join us to work on this together. So now, if it's okay, I'll tell you what materials that we're going to need for the craft. And in the meantime, what I'm going to suggest that you can do is that you start, if you open your kit, if you have our kit, you start ripping your newspaper and you want to rip it in as small pieces as possible because this is just going to take some time. And so you can take a bowl, you can just put it on a side of your table for now. Just start ripping your paper into lots of tiny, tiny pieces. The smaller, the better. So as small as you can get them. And if you don't have our kit, you can go ahead and grab some paper, any kind of paper, loose leaf. It could be computer paper or construction paper. Grab some paper and just start ripping it into small pieces. And just as an example, you can see I'm just doing it. By the way, if I'm out of view, if anybody lets me know, that would be fine. I can make sure that things are better in a better view for you. So you can just start ripping it like that. And it's, like I said, as small pieces as possible. So, but I will let you know that everybody today will need a dish towel or a hand towel of some kind. That's not included in our kits. Also having some version of tape, duct tape, masking tape. I have some masking tape here. Packing tape in a pinch will work. Any kind of sticky tape. You could also use a clip if you don't have some tape around you. You can use any kind of clip. Even one of these kinds of paper clips would work just fine. So also you're going to want to get a bowl. I would say this is a good size. If you can do it, if you do it a little bit smaller, that's fine too. I wouldn't go tiny, tiny bowl. And you're going to fill that with water if you haven't already done that. And these items are in the chat. So if you miss something I'm saying, you can go look in the chat for it. Also, if you get a spoon or chopsticks or any kind of stirring thing that you can use, that's kind of equivalent to the size of the bowl, right? So bigger the bowl, bigger the stirring implement. Also, you want to have a scissor, and I would suggest having a pen, although that is optional, pen or marker. Better if it is not a felt-tipped pen or marker. If you have our kit, then you're in luck because our kits, as some of you know who have been here a few times, or who watched our videos before, are incredible. So our kit has some really cool things. So for one, it's going to have some newspaper. So like I said, you're going to go ahead and just start by taking that newspaper and ripping that up and do work on that now. Any kind of paper that you have, just keep doing that while I'm going through these items, nice and small. So our kit has paper. Our kit will have some version of a ribbon. We will have these really cool double-sided spare adhesives. You're going to have some version of a netting. You're going to have some cool dried flowers and some other flower embellishments or decorations that we'll use later. You're going to have a paper towel. And, oh, where are they? Here they go. You're going to have 2 metal strips. These are going to be very important to this craft. And of course, our card that will help guide you to go to our website to get more exciting things find out more about the exciting things we do at IYC. So if you don't have our kit, what you're going to need is some version of newspaper, copy paper, loose leaf, something like that, construction paper, any of that's fine. Just go ahead and start ripping that. An old screen, if you have one that you want to get rid of anyway, you can use that. any type of netting material, old tulle fabric, if you have it. Sometimes slips have that kind of tulle fabric. You can use, if it's a slip, nobody will see it. You can even like not cut it out and just use it. I won't tell. But any kind of netting type material will work fine for this. You're going to want some kind of cardstock because we are going to make a card out of this later. A paper towel, a few paper towels will be blotting our paper, and a glue stick would be great. I don't recommend wet glue. So glue stick is preferred, although wet glue, just don't use too much. Dried flowers, if you have them, totally optional. Other embellishments, if you want for the card, great stickers, jewels, and so forth. And then a ribbon is also optional.
That is a lot of material. So while everyone is gathering, I would love to jump in and introduce you to some terms related to growth mindset. Does that sound good?
That would be absolutely great. What terms do you have for us?
Well, the first important big term is neuroplasticity, which means basically flexible brain. This is the brain's capacity to learn and adapt regardless of a person's age. This idea is different from nerve regeneration because the idea of growth mindset is about the learning. This is in contrast to a fixed mindset, and the whole idea was born from the concept of neuroplasticity.
So wait, now, I mean, neuroplasticity was a big word, but what do you mean by fixed mindset?
So a fixed mindset is the belief that a person's intelligence and ability are inherent and immutable. That means like unchanging. You're born with your intelligence and that's just what you've got, instead of being learned or developed through hard work. Growth mindset is, as you said, the belief that we can learn and grow through hard work and practice.
Okay, I'm learning right now. So what else do you have for us?
So another term is self-help. It's more familiar to most of us. This is the idea of when we're working to improve or overcome something without the assistance of someone else, like often mental health issues or life crisis or addiction. This is a really new phenomenon. It was born in the 20th century, and it usually involves reading books. Many people associated with this topic are published authors, and they offer different approaches to improving yourself. I have more to say, but maybe we should go ahead and start the craft and then I'll jump back in.
Hi, that's fantastic. Yeah, probably a great idea. The first thing we're going to be doing is making our pulp, which you've hopefully already started. So here's how to make your pulp. This is kind of the primary material used in paper making. So kind of ironic, you make paper out of paper when you're doing it this way. So in these kinds of projects, you make it by just soaking scraps of paper in water and blending them together into a fibrous, watery, what's called a slurry. Okay. And so I'm going to show you what the slurry looks like in a second. But for now, I just want you to just keep ripping or cutting your scrap paper. And you can do multiple pieces at a time. It's not neat. It doesn't, you can even cut it absolutely fine to use your scissor. If you don't like the kind of ripping sound, you can just use your scissor and literally you're just cutting it into as small pieces as you possibly can. Even better, please do like multiple pieces at a time. We got a lot to get through for this craft. So you want to just keep cutting as we're going through this to get as many of these tiny, tiny pieces as you can. And you can go ahead and just add them to your bowl of water. Okay, so right in as you're doing it, that gives them a little bit of extra time to soak. So as you're doing it, go ahead and cut them and then add them into your bowl of water as you're doing it. Typically, you would want to soak these for about an hour or two, and in your vat. In our case, our vat is our water basin or our container or bowl. And then ultimately, when they've soaked for a while, you would technically put them in the blender, or food processor. That's going to make that slurry a lot quicker than we're going to do today. But in our case, we're going to try to do it during the call. If at any point you don't like the kind of consistency of your slurry, you can just set it aside, pay attention to what we're doing. You'll get the video in the future and finish it up later. But we're going to try to get the slurry as disintegrated, the paper as disintegrated as we can. So the goal is for the mixture to be smooth and well blended so that the water is going to actually become cloudy. This is not going to happen right away. It definitely takes some time. So you want to make sure, like I said, you're already starting to do this. You're ripping up your paper and putting it in there. You can see, hopefully, from what I'm going to show you right now. Look at that. And that's not even stirred. Once you start stirring it, you can really see how kind of gray this is. And it's hard to tell the difference between where the paper is. Like you can definitely see some flakes of paper in there. But at this point, the water and the paper have kind of become one, so to speak. And so that's really what you're looking for. Now, I've had this sitting for a little while now, but you won't have as long. So it's not going to be as dissolved, but that's fine. So keep stirring it as we're talking, not stirring it, but once you're done with your paper, you want to just keep stirring it periodically. If you want to get your hands dirty, go and put them in there and you can like try to pull the paper apart even while it's in there. Also, what you can do to your slurry is you can take this, okay, once you're done with ripping your paper, and ripping the paper is the most important thing, but optionally what you can do is you can go ahead and take your dried flowers. I would crush them up quite a bit more, mostly because the paper we're working with is pretty small. So it's not really going to be able to hold on to a big big leaf or anything like that. But go ahead and I would kind of crunch up all of that. Oops, I'm doing a little out of view. Sorry about that. But you can see what I did. I just crunched it all up in there and now it's in there. And when we stir it, that's going to stir very nicely as well. So it all come up when we're doing our paper making. So let's see. So you've got the dried flowers in there, which is great. And you're going to want to mix that up. Ultimately, you could add the dried flowers afterwards, after you put the paper onto your screen. But I find this is kind of it's better to get it in with the mix if you can. Otherwise, it could be that as it dries, the flowers will just kind of fall out of it. So in the meantime, Carrie, while folks are kind of doing that and finishing up putting their paper in there, what are some small ways we can begin to incorporate a growth mindset into kind of our daily lives?
So there are a lot of ways to do this. One of my favorites, the simplest idea, is to really think about something called the power of yet. And this encourages you to add yet to the end of any kind of statement. So instead of, I can't do this, you end up with, I can't do this yet. And this helps shift your focus to just achieving realistic goals with time, effort, and practice.
That's fantastic. I love that. So self-compassion, I think also is an important value of a growth mindset.
Yeah, and there are a lot of other values associated with this. Do you want to list some?
Sure, happy to. Growth mindset is often associated with, and these are probably familiar to you, but maybe you haven't heard them this way, all put together, like seeking help, adaptability, learning from failure is a big one, expressing appreciation for effort, your own, but also other people's effort.
These are so important, and they actually show up when I work with parents and kids all the time. So we can model all of this for our children as well.
That is, I'm so glad that works into your practice also. So, okay, this is great. And especially for kids too, right? So, this is all really important, but also important is this next step we're going to be working on. So, and this is like a big one. So normally you would have a specific tool called a mold that you would use to make your paper. We couldn't send that to you in our case. So we're improvising a little bit. We're going to make the mold ourselves. I'm going to say this is the hardest part of what we're doing right now. We are making this screen, okay? So, and we're going to call it, instead of calling it a mold, we're going to call it a screen because that's what it looks like. You'll know what I'm talking about. But the formal name is mold. Basically, it's a rigid frame that has a mesh in it. And traditionally, this is made out of wire or nylon. And it's kind of used to scoop the pulp mixture out of the vat. And it holds the pulp mixture. So what you're going to start with, and this is what it's going to ultimately look like. It's not necessarily pretty, but it will definitely serve its function here. So what you're going to do first is you're going to take these two metal strips, okay? And you're going to fold the metal so that the white part faces outward. Okay, so let me do that in here. You're going to fold it so the white part faces out for your two metal strips. Okay. And the idea is that we need to somehow hold these together. And you can see this is a frame, right? So that's where your tape comes in. But like I said, you can really even use a paper clip. So just to kind of show you the idea, right now it's held together. Here's another kind of clip I have. Basically, you just want these to hold together, right? But we can use the tape. And to do that, you're going to go ahead and take a piece of tape if you have it. You can use clips if you don't. But you're going to take your tape, and on these sides that don't have the white part, you're going to use the tape, and you're going to fold over the tape. Okay, we don't need that big of a tape. You're going to fold over the tape over the metal to hold it together. That's one side. If you can get through this, this is the battle today, right here. Then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to fold over that tape. Make sure it's sticking nice. Ideally, you're not using a tape that's going to just come right off in water. And you see now this is pretty solid. Then, if you have any questions, let me know. You notice now that you have a rectangle. Now you need to take your screen and stretch it to cover the rectangle. Okay, and I'm doing this in the close-up. If you don't have the close-up, it may be because you're on your phone. You need to just like scroll over to the side to get that view. To do this part, what I want you to do is go ahead and peel that white piece off. And you'll notice that's really sticky underneath, much stickier than you probably thought it would be. So you're going to take that and stick it to the long side, just like the rectangle. So you're going to kind of mirror the rectangle. If it's not in the right spot, you can move it up a little bit. And so the idea is, so you need this to cover both sides. So here it's a little short on this side. I'm just going to move it up on this side. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And even though it's very sticky, or thankfully, because it's very sticky, you're able to kind of lift it up and put it down, lift it up, put it down. So this is what you have here. But now you have these two other sides. Okay, so for that, we're going to revisit our tape once again. So we're going to take our tape. See. And you don't really need that much. You just need enough to adhere it. So here, and make sure it's nice and taut. You're pulling it pretty tight if you can. So here, again, you're going to go ahead and put your tape on there to hold that, to hold it together a little bit. You may need some more tapes, less tape. If it doesn't work, if all else fails, you can go ahead and use like I said, a clip. But you see that kind of holds it in pretty well. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And now you basically made your mold just with tape and these few ingredients. Okay. So, and you try to make it as tight as you can. Ideally, make sure it's in if you add more tape, that's fine. Make sure it's in a rectangle shape. Whatever shape this mold in, hence the name mold, whatever shape this mold is in is what this is going to come out as. So a few seconds ago, mine was more rhombus than it was mold. Than it was rectangle. So I had to shift it a little bit. When I shifted it, I had to retape it. So you'll see. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce mine by putting the clips on it. I have these clips as well. Okay. But you can keep taping it until it's right. In this case, look how much tape is on that, right? So while our artists are working on creating their screens, Carrie, is there anything else that you want to tell us related to the growth mindset topic right now?
Yeah, for sure. I actually have some dates to tell you about.
I'm all ears.
So in 1859, a gentleman named Samuel Smiles published a book called Self-Help, and I love his name matches. It's just perfect, actually.
Love it.
And this is widely considered to be the first book on the topic. It would take another 100 years until the 1950s for a kind of psychology called humanistic psychology to emerge as a field of study that focuses on people's positive qualities, especially goodness, potential, and free will.
Okay, and that's great. I love the smiles. Any more dates we should hear about today?
Yeah, actually, on April 1st, 1988, researchers named Dweck and Leggett published a groundbreaking work called A Social Cognitive Approach to Motivation and Personality. And this article becomes the foundation for the whole growth mindset research.
Okay, that sounds like an important one then. Wait, I have a date for you too. Do you want to hear it?
Sure, of course.
Okay. So this one's a bit more recent. So June 27th, 2006, so 20 years ago, so not that recent. It's still kind of recent. TED Talks were posted online for the first time. Can you imagine a world without TED Talks?
No, they are definitely a part of our lives now, especially when we really value trying to learn from others and their experience. And this is deeply related to a growth mindset. So speaking of experiences, I think we're probably ready for the next step.
I think you're probably right. Yep. Let's go on to step 4. So hopefully you've got some version of a mold. If you have our kit, then you have some flower decorations. So I want you to, if you don't have our kit, then you can go ahead and use whatever embellishments you want. But I want you to think for a minute, while our slurry is still kind of doing its thing and we're waiting for it to kind of develop a bit more, we're stirring it. At this point, you've already cut all your pieces or ripped up all your pieces. So we're stirring our slurry. And while that's happening, we want to let it kind of sit as much as possible in there. I want you to decide how you're going to decorate your cardstock. So I'll give you an example of mine. This is what I did with mine. You can see in the main screen. And so you'll see the paper is actually in the middle here. Let me see if I can show you. In the close-up, we have our paper, which is kind of sideways, sorry. Nope, wrong way. There we go. Okay, so we have our paper. And what I did is I went ahead and wrote on it. This is actually with a very fine, but it is a felt tip point. Be very careful with felt tip points. They're likely to bleed. And indeed, you can see the heart bled at the end. And so I had to just color it in. So you're really better off using a ballpoint pen or even a pencil. So I put some of the embellishments on it here. I was thinking I was going to put in this middle of this, I would put a picture. Also on the bottom, you can also take your embellishments, just put them all around the outside of your paper, and then it becomes like a frame, a picture frame. So you can basically have the embellishment as the center in the middle of your paper. You can have the embellishments around the paper to make it a frame, or you can just leave the paper alone because it has this like beautiful where it rips away from the mold. It's going to have this beautiful roughness to it. On the sides, I cut it so you can see kind of the difference. So this is the natural roughness, and then this is the cut on the sides. And so, and I can show you this way too. And so if you want to just preserve the beauty of the paper in the middle, then you can just make your decorations around it. And then eventually you're going to add this bow to it. So, so I want you to kind of decide how you want to decorate your card. And you can go ahead and use those if you're going to make any decorations around the card that don't involve the paper itself. You can actually go ahead and start doing those now by either using your glue stick, or we have these double-sided stickies. You just pull one off. I'll show you in the close-up first. Pull one off right from it. And now this is sticky. And then you pull the other little tiny piece off. And now you have double-sided sticky right there. That will hold your embellishments on so that you can, make whatever decoration you want on the card. If you are planning to wait until your paper is done for your embellishment. So here, I just put it on my little flower. And I'll also show you here too. I just put that little piece on there. Then if you did want to wait, then you don't do that part now, basically. Okay, so you can work on the embellishments a little bit, or you can wait till you're all done. So while our crafters are designing their cards, I love that we have like things we can talk about while crafters are doing stuff, we can talk about stuff. Love this. I thought I would mention a fun fact. Is that okay, Carrie? That's good for you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Have you ever heard of Dolly Parton's Imagination Library?
Well, of course, I've heard of Dolly Parton, and I
Fair.
know that she's really involved in literacy efforts, but what is the Imagination Library?
Excellent. It is, for those who don't know, like yourself, it is a book gifting program. And we know that reading is one of the best ways to grow and learn, right? Through this Imagination Library, what Dolly Parton does is give away these books. And she's actually given, you're not going to believe it, she's given 200, and I have that exact number, this is from their website, 270,748,534 books.
Wow.
Over 270 million books that she's given away.
That is a lot of books.
That is, and a lot of growth.
Yep. And books, as we know, can provide a really great opportunity for growth. And I do want to mention that we have to be careful when we read self-help books because there's a statistic floating around out there that just about half of self-help books are actually based on scientific evidence. So make sure you check your sources.
Very good point. Very good point. I did not know that, and that is definitely good to know. Okay. And speaking of which, you know, we can check out the multiple sources about that too. So Gary, what else you have for us?
So in the US alone, the self-help market is valued at $13.4 billion right now. So that represents a huge number of people trying to help others and help themselves for their own financial gain. And so we should just be cautious and protect ourselves from people who might be looking to monetize or exploit our desire to grow. So the things that we can do to protect ourselves are watch out for clickbait and scams, and generally just things that sound too good to be true. So make sure that you check their credentials and the credibility of all of your sources, and be wary of AI generated information. Proactively choose where to use your resources, like your time and money, to support, promote, and engage with growth mindset focused people and media. And an example of one that I love is Sesame Street is like the original growth mindset programming.
I absolutely love that. Definitely my kids were watching that. Me too. So that's the best advice for growth yet that you've just shared with us is, you know, this kind of cautionary tale. Now, back to the most fun and important step in our project is making the paper. The cool thing here, by the way, is once you have your little mold, I know it's kind of like DIY, right? But you can actually use this over and over again as long as it lasts, and you can rebuild it each time, right? So for now, whatever your pulp looks like, whatever your slurry looks like, it is fine. So make this first one with what you have, knowing that when it dries later, you're going to take it off this mold, and that will be totally fine because you can then do it again. So don't throw out your slurry tonight. Let it sit. Maybe later today, maybe tomorrow, you can still use it, and it will be much more conducive. And I just want to show you the difference between letting it sit. Okay. So here's a version. This one I did not let sit very much. And I think it's very possible that yours may end up looking something like this. You can tell, you can probably see, you can still see the writing. You might even be able to see some words in there, right? So it hasn't really kind of become a slurry yet. But then as it becomes more of a slurry, you can really start to see that the writing disappears. And then here, this one, it was over 24 hours. I think this one was there. There's you know, you can barely even see the print. It's all just a solid color almost. So just so you get an idea of the importance of letting that slurry stick. But whatever you have, might as well try using it for now. So here's what you're going to do. And there's two ways you can do it. I was actually working on this with my kids and they came up with the alternate way. And I was like, you know, that's not the way you're supposed to do it, but actually it worked really well. So the traditional way you would do it, first of all, you want to stir it so that the slurry is kind of moving around and mixed together and is not like totally settled on the bottom. You can do it on if it's all settled on the bottom, but I kind of like having the little pieces of things in there. So in that case, and hopefully you can see this in the screen, in the close-up, is you're going to take it, you're going to basically scoop it, but your goal is to, you can see I'm kind of making sure I've got a lot of stuff in there. And the water is going to just come right out of that. And you know that you've got some of the slurry in there because it's hard for that water to come out, right? It's almost like you're searching for gold here, right? So you could shake the water out a little bit. So you can see here that that's a lot of slurry. Your goal is to not have any empty spots. There's one little spot I have in this corner. I'm going to go ahead and just take my spoon and maybe grab some of that slurry and target it right over there. So if you have holes, you can even use your hand, especially because your pieces are going to be pretty thick. Go ahead and just use your hand, pick up that slurry and put it right in there. And that's our first step in this making of the paper. What I want you to do then is go ahead, gonna clear up my stage here a little bit. You're going to take your napkin, not your paper towel, but your napkin, and you're going to put that right on the napkin. Okay, so I'm going to do it one more time with another one of these molds for you. Okay, so here's another one. This one just has the clips, the side just sticking a little bit, but they're kind of unsticking a little bit. It's fine. And again, let me stir it. And you can just keep doing this as much as you want until you get the right kind of thickness or the right coverage. The more slurry that's in there, the thicker it's going to be. The less slurry that's in there, the thinner it's going to be. And so just shake out the rest of the water. Make sure you fill in any extra gaps that you have if you need to. In this case, I don't really have too many extra gaps, so I'll put a little bit more over there. Okay, and then get that extra water out. And then we're going to put it down. So hopefully, so you can, like I said, resubmerge this all you want. While folks are doing that, Carrie, do you have?
I have some more.
Yeah,
Okay. Some more tips. Can I jump in?
Please do. Yeah, 100%.
So these kind of tips can just help people be more intentional about their growth mindset related choices. It turns out that writing down your goals can really help you stay focused on them. So you can use your paper that you are making and write down your goals. Acknowledge and embrace setbacks as learning opportunities. So that's a mindset shift. Praise effort in other people, like your children, not their talent. So for example, you worked really hard instead of, oh, you're so smart. And whenever possible, it's really helpful to find an accountability partner to share challenges with so you can support each other.
This is great. I absolutely love these. And I can't believe I'm saying it, but our project is almost complete. So let's get to our next steps. Our last steps really is the pressing. That's what this is called. And you have your paper towel. So I'll show you in the close-up. So you have your paper towel. It's kind of big. You're going to want to make it smaller because your paper towel ultimately is going to have to be in the frame. By the way, I forgot to mention, I said that my kids, oh, forgive me, said that my kids had shown me another way to do it. This is how my kids did this, by the way. So just going back to the slurry for a minute, let me just move this right over here again. I'm going to show you how they did it. Actually, kind of worked out just fine too. They did it upside down. So they went in and then shook it around, and then they did it like that, which is not the textbook way to do it, but it actually worked. And then you can still kind of add more to the places that it isn't, you know, it's not complete. So I'm just going to move that on the side over here for a second. So wanted to show you that. That is another way to do it. I think you might end up with a thinner piece of paper that way. So it's another strategy. Definitely not textbook though. So let's move this over again. We have these pieces here. You have your paper towel. There's actually a couple of paper towels in here, so I would just grab one. What you want to do is fold that paper towel. You want it to be nice and thick, but you want to fold it over so it's small and it basically fits in. So what I did is I just literally took the fold it was currently in already, and then I just did a tri-fold again. And then what you are going to do is absorb the excess water from the top. Okay, so you can see in the close-up that I'm putting the paper towel on it, and I'm kind of pushing the paper towel in. Now, don't pull it out yet, because I'm going to tell you something interesting. I don't want you to be scared if it happens. It is very possible, because you're pushing this really, really hard, that when you peel this paper towel off, it's going to pull the paper right off with it, this new pulp that you made. And that is okay. You just want to pull it off. I mean, pull the whole thing out slowly so that you don't end up ripping your new piece of paper. Okay, so it's not dry yet, but it may kind of adhere because of the water to this paper towel. So I'm going to do it now. We're going to see if it does or not. Okay, in my case, it's not, but you can kind of see, I'll pull it closer. It's pulling up a little bit. So in this case, I'm going to try not to pull the whole thing up. I'm going to do this very slowly. If I do feel like it's going to pull it up, which I think on this side, it looks like it might pull it up, I'm going to try it from this side. So if you've ever like peeled a packing label off of a box, this is kind of the experience you're having right now. Peeling it very slowly so you can do it all at one time. You can even, just do it slowly. And if you need to, you pick another corner to come at it from. Okay, but see if it wants to come out, you can aim to take the whole thing out. If it doesn't want to come out, then let it be happy there. We can talk like Bob Ross, let it be happy there, and just leave it be. So in this case, I managed to get this one to not come out, but you see it's starting to. It wants to a little, but no. So we're going to leave it in there, and then it will just dry in there. I'm just pushing it down so it'll dry a little bit on the flatter side. Make sure the corners are down. If it did come out with yours, totally fine. Just lay it down. And don't touch it. Don't try to peel it off the paper. That will not work. Don't try to peel it off the paper. Just lay it down and leave it there. Okay, so I'm going to try this again as we're closing out. I'll do it one more time, maybe even two more times with the last one. In the last one where we did it backwards, we'll see how that one comes out, but it's the same idea. And actually, yeah, I'll show you how to do it on the last one as we're kind of closing out. But basically, you're just going to let that dry at room temperature in a warm, well-ventilated area. Some of you that have the humidity or the heat, that might help or not. Depending on how much pulp you were able to get into your mold. The caliper, which is the thickness of that sheet of paper, is going to be different. So when the pulp sits for less time, the paper is just thicker and more bumpy. And when the paper sits the pulp sits for a longer time, you see how light and airy and thin this one is and more kind of uniform. So that's the caliper, that thickness. And it's usually measured in thousandths of an inch. So remember, if you haven't already added the embellishments, once the paper is dry, that's when you can go ahead and add embellishments to your paper. Use your glue stick or the adhesive squares that were enclosed. I'll show you the close-up over here, close-up over there. And then the last thing you would do is you would tie your ribbon around the card. Take your ribbon. I'll show you in the close-up. Just put it on the inside so that the bow is really pretty on the outside. Tie a knot. Tie a bow or tie a knot, tie it together and then make a bow. You can make it as big or small as you want. And then you just cut off the excess from the bow. I always like to do it on an angle. When I cut off the excess, it's just prettier. Make sure it's kind of even. Whoops. And there you go. You have a bow. You can also put a sheet of paper in here if you want underneath this to make it kind of look a little bit more, sophisticated. But that's it. I'll keep matting these But thank you for working with us on the project today. I really appreciate it. And if you are willing to show your finished project, we can go ahead and have you be able to share your screens now. So feel free to do that. You should be able to share your screens. You can find so sorry, I'm going to just let Stacy take it from here, but really enjoy your paper that you made. Stacy, take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Carrie and Stacy, for the great craft and important discussion about growth mindset. That's amazing. Thanks to our wonderful crafters. We hope you enjoyed this craft project and will continue to learn about growth mindset. To help, we will send our event video and infographic in a follow-up email by the end of next week, which we encourage you to share with others. Also, please consider committing to a weekly act to raise awareness about issues related to growth mindset. Getting informed by coming to this event is a great way to start. And there are other important things you can do. Commit to one weekly action that allows you to better understand the growth mindset movement. Here are some ideas for how to do that. Support your own and loved ones' practice to gain proficiency in a desired skill area, but be aware that how you push yourself and others can have impactions for mental and physical health, relationships, and future outcomes. Being unyielding is counter to growth. Read more about growth mindset related people like Tony Robbins, Brene Brown, Michael Jordan, Barney Salzberg, and Jessica Campbell, whose names you will find on our infographic. There is a poll on the screen. Please take a moment right now to take our quick poll, if you will. Thank you so much. And to look for and learn about other Inform Your Community events, not only our Craftivism program, but events from our other programs as well. Please check out our website, www.informyourcommunity.org. Tickets are free, and for our adult and children's crafting events, we also provide materials and shipping for free as well, as long as you sign up no later than a week prior to the event. So please definitely sign up. Our next event is our Popcorn and Chat program on June 25th at 6:30 p.m. The topic is homelessness. If you are watching this video, please, if you are watching this video on YouTube, please be sure to like our video, comment on it, and subscribe to our channel. Also, please consider donating to cover the costs of the materials and shipping if you can afford it, as it helps keep our events free for those who can't. Thank you for coming and for helping inform your own communities based on what you learned today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shura. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.